Welcome everyone. I'm excited to kick off our presentation today. We'll be exploring the fascinating world of Hammurabi. On this first slide, you'll see the title, Introduction to Hammurabi. We'll briefly cover who he was, his significance, and what we'll learn about his contributions to history. So, let's dive in and discover the story of one of ancient history's most influential leaders. Hammurabi was a remarkable ruler in ancient Mesopotamia, known for his incredible ability to unify the often warring city-states of the region. His leadership helped strengthen Babylon, transforming it into a powerful and influential city. His reign, which lasted roughly from 1792 BC to 1750 BC, marks a significant period in history. As the sixth king of the First Babylonian Dynasty, Hammurabi's impact was profound. He didn't just expand his territory, he also laid the groundwork for a more organized and just society. His leadership exemplifies how a strong ruler can shape the course of history, connecting to our overall theme of the development of early civilizations and leadership. When we look at the legacy of Hammurabi, it's clear that his laws had a lasting impact. They influenced the development of future legal systems and established core principles of accountability and governance that are still relevant today. These principles helped shape ideas of justice and fairness that continue to guide us. Now, the significance of Hammurabi goes beyond just his laws. His major achievements include implementing political and social reforms that promoted stability and prosperity in his empire. These reforms helped ensure that his society functioned smoothly and effectively. Most notably, he created the Code of Hammurabi, which is one of the earliest known written legal codes. This code was essential in maintaining justice because it provided clear, written laws that everyone could understand. It set a precedent for the rule of law and showed how law could be used to create order and fairness in society. All of these achievements connect to our overall theme of understanding how leadership and law shape civilizations. Hammurabi's work laid a foundation that influences governance even thousands of years later. The Code of Hammurabi was established to maintain order, promote justice, and protect the weak from the strong. This set of laws was written in Akkadian and publicly displayed on a stone pillar, making it accessible to everyone. It was organized into sections that covered family matters, property rights, and trade regulations, which were all essential aspects of daily life. As one of the oldest known written legal codes, it consisted of 282 laws that governed how people interacted and resolved disputes in ancient Babylon. These laws helped create a sense of structure and fairness in society, and they connect to our overall theme of understanding how early civilizations maintained order and justice. So, here's an interesting point about the Code of Hammurabi. It contained approximately 282 laws, which is quite a comprehensive set of rules for that time. And importantly, it was written down, making it one of the earliest examples of a codified legal system. This is a key concept because it shows a move away from oral traditions and towards written law, providing clearer, more consistent enforcement. Now, let's look at the quiz question on this slide. The statement says that the Code of Hammurabi contained only 10 laws and was mainly enforced through oral traditions. This is actually false. The real number of laws was much higher, around 282, and the fact that they were written down was significant because it marked a shift toward formalized legal codes that could be widely referenced and enforced consistently, rather than relying solely on oral memorization or tradition. Understanding this helps us see how ancient legal systems evolved and laid the groundwork for modern laws. So remember, it's not just about the number of laws, but also about the move towards written, codified law that's at the heart of this example. Now, let's look at the effects that Hammurabi's society aimed to achieve with his laws. This principle was really about ensuring justice and preventing excessive punishment. It was designed to keep revenge in check and promote responses to wrongdoings that were proportional to the offense. This approach helped create a sense of fairness in legal proceedings, which was crucial for establishing order within the society. When people knew that victims would receive fair restitution, it fostered trust and stability, making the community more cohesive. Citizens could feel confident that their rights were protected and that laws were fair and consistent. Moving on to some of the well-known laws Hammurabi established, one of the most famous is the Law of Retaliation, often called Lex Talionis. This law states that if someone destroys another person's eye, the offender's eye should also be destroyed. The core idea here is justice through equal punishment, what we might call an eye for an eye. It emphasizes that the punishment should fit the crime, which was a revolutionary way to think about justice at the time. Overall, these laws helped Hammurabi create a legal system that was not only about punishment, but also about fairness and balance in society. Let's take a closer look at some of the well-known Hammurabi laws, specifically the marriage laws. One key point here is that if a man marries a woman and she does not bear him children, he is permitted to marry another woman. This law really underscores how important lineage and family were in that society. Having children was seen as essential, not just for personal reasons, but for the continuation of the family line and social stability. It also highlights how practical and pragmatic these laws were. They aimed to ensure that a man's legacy continued. Allowing men to have multiple wives in this context was a way to safeguard that goal. When we think about the overall theme of Hammurabi's code, it's clear that many of these laws were designed to maintain social order and reinforce family structures. So this law is not just about marriage. It reflects broader societal values about family, inheritance, and social responsibility. It shows us how laws from thousands of years ago still reveal much about the priorities and structure of ancient civilizations. Now, let's take a closer look at some of the well-known laws established by Hammurabi, specifically those related to property. One key law states that if a man rents a field for cultivation and it does not produce any crop, he shall not be required to pay rent. This is a really important point because it creates a fair system between landowners and tenants. It ensures that tenants are not unfairly penalized if their efforts don't yield results, and it also protects landowners from losing income when the land isn't productive. This law highlights the importance of fairness and accountability in agricultural agreements, which was a significant aspect of Hammurabi's code. It ties back to our overall theme of law as a tool for maintaining social order and justice. By establishing clear rules like this, Hammurabi helped promote stability and trust in economic transactions, which was essential for the growth of his society. Now let's move on to a quick true or false quiz to really test what we've learned. The statement is, Hammurabi's code has significantly influenced modern legal systems and practices. Many principles, such as proportional punishment and the importance of written laws, are still evident today. What do you think? True or false? The answer is false. Hammurabi's code, in fact, had no influence on modern legal systems and practices. But, as we'll see later, that's actually not correct. Hammurabi's code has played a key role in shaping some of the legal principles we still use today, like the idea of written laws and proportional punishments. So, even though it might seem ancient, its influence endures and helps us understand the development of law over time. This ties back to our overall theme of how early civilizations laid the groundwork for modern society. Now, let's talk about the role of judges in Hammurabi's society. Judges had a very important responsibility. They were tasked with interpreting and enforcing the laws laid out in the Code of Hammurabi. This wasn't just about making decisions. It was about ensuring that justice was served accurately and fairly. Their role was crucial in maintaining order and trust in the legal system. By doing so, they helped guarantee that justice was administered consistently across the society. This consistency was key to upholding the rule of law and reinforcing the authority of Hammurabi's code. So, in essence, judges were the guardians of justice, making sure that the laws worked as intended and that everyone was treated equally under the law. This connects to our overall theme of how law and justice shaped ancient civilizations, showing us the importance of a fair legal system. Now, let's take a closer look at the guidelines for fair judgments in ancient times. The Code of Hammurabi, for example, provided very specific rules that judges would follow to decide punishments. These weren't random. they were based on the severity of the crime committed. So, the harsher the crime, the more severe the punishment, which helped ensure consistency. But what's especially interesting is that these guidelines also considered the circumstances of each case. Judges were encouraged to look at the context, things like the intent behind the act or the situation surrounding it, rather than just the crime itself. The ultimate goal here was to achieve balanced and fair resolutions. This approach aimed to make sure that punishments were appropriate and just, avoiding extremes of either too harsh or too lenient. Connecting this to our overall theme, it shows how early legal systems sought to establish fairness and justice by creating structured guidelines. It's a foundation that influences how we think about justice even today. This system served a dual purpose. It not only acted as a deterrent, but also helped maintain social order. When citizens knew what the consequences of their actions were, they were more likely to think twice before breaking the rules. Serious crimes like murder could even result in the death penalty, highlighting how severe the punishments could be. On the other hand, less severe offenses, such as theft, might lead to fines or restitution, meaning the offender had to compensate the victim. When we look at the consequences for violating laws, the code laid out clear and structured responses. These ranged from fines to physical punishment, depending on how serious the offense was. This approach shows how the legal system aimed to establish order and ensure justice by making punishments predictable and appropriate to each crime. Overall, these rules and consequences were essential in reinforcing social stability and reminding citizens of the importance of following laws for the good of everyone. Hammurabi's code was really influential in shaping the legal systems of the ancient world. It served as a model for other important codes, like the Hittite law code and even the Roman legal system. What's fascinating is how its principles of justice and its structured legal processes laid a solid foundation for future legislation. These ideas weren't just isolated. They influenced how societies organized laws and governed themselves over centuries. So, in a way, Hammurabi's code helped set the stage for the development of justice systems that we still see echoes of today. Let's talk about modern legal concepts and how they trace back to Hammurabi's laws. Many ideas we consider fundamental today, like the presumption of innocence, meaning someone is considered innocent until proven guilty, actually have roots in these ancient laws, especially through the emphasis on needing evidence. The right to a fair trial is another key idea that can be linked to the way laws were structured to ensure justice. Additionally, the importance of written laws over oral traditions was a significant step forward. Hammurabi's codification of laws created a clear and consistent legal framework, which helped balance power, making sure rulers and officials couldn't just act arbitrarily, and protected individual rights. Now, looking at the impact on later societies, these foundational concepts influenced how legal systems developed over centuries. They established a framework that prioritized fairness, evidence, and written standards, principles still central to our justice systems today. So, in essence, Hammurabi's laws didn't just serve their time. They laid the groundwork for many modern legal ideas that continue to shape our societies. Today, we'll see how some of these ancient legal principles still influence our societies. Similar laws can be found in many legal systems around the world, which shows how enduring the foundational ideas established by Hammurabi really are. For example, the principle of proportional punishment is something you'll see reflected in many criminal codes today. It emphasizes that the punishment should match the severity of the crime, which is a core idea that guides modern justice systems, including mandatory sentencing guidelines. We also see the concept of restitution for victims, which has really stood the test of time. This means that offenders are required to compensate victims for their losses, much like what Hammurabi's code mandated. These examples highlight how some ancient ideas continue to shape our understanding of justice today. And these principles didn't just disappear. They influenced later societies, helping to develop more sophisticated legal systems. So, The impact of Hammurabi's laws extends far beyond their original time, reminding us that the roots of our legal principles are deep and historically connected. The legacy of Hammurabi's code is truly evident in the legal principles we see today. These principles are all about ensuring justice, promoting equality, and maintaining order in society. What's fascinating is how these ancient laws continue to influence our modern justice systems, highlighting their enduring impact. Throughout this presentation, we've seen how early legal codes laid the foundation for the rules and standards we rely on now. So, understanding Hammurabi's code helps us appreciate the long history of legal development and the ongoing pursuit of fairness and order in our societies. So, why is it important for us to understand these ancient laws? Well, understanding them helps us see the roots of our legal systems and how they've evolved over time. These early laws, like the Code of Hammurabi, set precedents for justice, fairness, and social order that still influence us today. Recognizing their impact allows us to appreciate the foundations of modern laws and how they aim to maintain balance and fairness in society. Now, thinking about the influence of the Code of Hammurabi, one way it still affects our laws today is through the idea of written codes and codified laws. The concept that laws should be clear, accessible, and enforceable is something we still uphold. For example, many legal systems around the world now rely on written statutes, which echoes the principles established thousands of years ago. Connecting this to our overall theme, it's fascinating to see how these ancient laws continue to shape our understanding of justice and governance. They remind us that law is a living tradition, constantly building on what came before to create a fairer society for everyone. This slide doesn't contain enough information. That's why we're moving to the next slide.